Hey, juice heads and wrestling fans all alike. Welcome to my ninth overall. There we go. Ninth overall. That gets confusing in front of the fucking camera. Ninth overall wrestling show of mine here. It's Wednesday, so you know what that means. It means fucking AEW pregame. So thanks for joining us. I'm gonna try to get this up and running a couple hours before 8 o'clock, so you got something to watch before AEW. And let's just get into it, man. I got notes here. I'm gonna call this show Raw is or not even Raw. WWE is DVR. Even though I heard Roman Reigns is doing his career work, the overall product is just like I've never made myself pull the trigger, as they say, and throw up. But I just can't like. I love my wrestling podcasters I've been with for like a decade at this point. I'm not gonna drop their names because I don't need to. You know who they are, and they try to be as positive on the product as possible, and I just can't do it. I just can't watch shitty fucking wrestling. It's really what's driving me towards watching GCW and just random shit on the internet and supporting whatever local indie fed might be up here in Rawway. Not that I live in Rawway, but that's where I go to watch most of my indie shit. And I think Jersey City, I think Nick fucking Gage, who we'll talk about today, actually wrestled what's her name in Jersey City in an intergender match. Why I hit the fucking green button. I can't think of her name. Fuck me, man. Fucking Tessa. And I've been watching Tessa in Rawway since like 7 years ago when she was like. I couldn't tell how old she was because of all the makeup she had on. I guess she must have been like 19 at the time, but she was good then. She's good now. I don't care what you say about her. But yeah, I entitled this episode "WWE is DVR" because honestly, I'm not watching the WWE live anymore, and that goes for pay-per-views. Maybe like I'll watch SummerSlam or something, or Money in the Bank. But if I'm around, if I'm not like doing something better, but it's bad. It's bad. It's DVR bad. And if you're telling me you're not skipping through at least, and I'm going to be generous when I say 60% of the show, you're lying. Or you're doing it for money, or you're doing a watch along or something. No wrestling fan in their right mind, especially a 30-year fan like me, and I'm trying to get on another 30-year fan, so hopefully soon he'll come on. No 30-year fan in their right mind is watching that whole fucking show. And the most I do is I go back now, not even on Peacock, because Peacock is garbage. I go back just on YouTube. There's plenty of good stuff on there from YouTube you could watch if you want to reminisce about when it was good, and there was kayfabe, and they presented it like a fucking sport, which is the way it should be presented. Instead of dumbing it down with 80 fucking writers and fucking got Lord knows how many producers, and the booking is just awful. And we all know it's all coming through a filter to one man. Even NXT, I used to look forward to that show when it was 1 hour long on the network. I forget if it was Tuesday night, Wednesday night, or Thursday night, but it was one of those nights when the network first started. And I miss it. I miss the 1 hour NXT. All those guys now are either gone or have been called up. I don't believe anybody is still there. Finn Balor was not part of that original 2014 roster, to my knowledge. I think he could have came on in 2014 at some point, but I mean like first takeover era NXT. But yeah, no. But speaking of that, that was my first topic for today. It's really what's been the downfall of the WWE Network. And this is what happens when you just whore yourself out. All right, WWE Network started great, commercial free, great deal, $9.99 a month, Mania included. Which I've said before, I've disputed that. I think you're devaluing WrestleMania when you're including that in a $9.99 a month model. But if you crunch the numbers, most people probably don't buy any other pay-per-views, so they come ahead financially. But I still think you're devaluing. Can you imagine if Mike Tyson just had a subscription app and he fought on it and it was included in the app? Like, he'd never do that. That's crazy. That's crazy. Because you never know what the buy rate's going to be if you do it right. You know, I would assume WrestleMania 14 and probably WrestleMania 17 are two of the highest buy-rated pay-per-views of all time. I would have to assume that under the old model. Who knows now? And the other thing too about that, you know who's drawing the money. How the fuck are they supposed to know who's drawing money anymore? So, it's not good. And then, so they do that. Then they water down the network, right, by having like a free commercial version of it. Then they take NXT and they put it on USA, which I've talked about before on this very podcast. And they bloating it, right? I'm trying to tighten. I'm trying to go to the gym and tighten for the camera. They're fucking bloating it on USA Network. Just whoring themselves out. Who knows how much money they got for NXT for Tuesday nights, which by all accounts really isn't even doing that great ratings-wise. None of the shows are. As a matter of fact, the only person I see that actually tells you the ratings in ratings points anymore is Hannibal. They only ever used to tell you ratings points. Raw got a 3.2, Nitro got a 4.7, whatever. Raw drew whatever it was, a 6.5 for the fucking This Is Your Life with The Rock or whatever, and Mick Foley. Now we just know total viewers because it makes it sound better than, oh, well, Raw got a 0.54. And it's just this 2021 world we live in compared to the way the world used to be, where they told you the truth, where only the winners got a trophy. And they can inflate their numbers all they want. It's not going to make the product any better. And it's not going to get any more eyeballs on it, as far as I'm concerned. And then what did they do most recently to whore out the fucking product? Sold it to Peacock. Great idea. Let's just sell all our fucking content to Peacock. So now Peacock's meticulously going through it. And I jumped on board for the $2.50 version. That would be $2.50 a month for the first 4 months promo. And there's commercial breaks like in WrestleMania, like there were this year, ironically. But it was like between every match. And there'd be like 2 commercials, 3 commercials. It was so annoying. I said, fuck it. Give me the $5 plan. And you know what these fucks had the audacity to do? Even though I paid for the commercial-free version, there's like still like a 5 to 10 second gap of just blankness where the commercials would be. Instead of just giving you the raw footage or the regular footage. So that's how lazy they are. All right? And again, that's what happens when you whore your product out. And again, you don't come here for results. I just like to talk wrestling. I can talk about a few things in my life. Football, wrestling, and I don't know, fucking Batman shit. But yeah, this is really a disaster as far as the consumer goes. At least to me. I don't know anybody that's happy with it. The interface is garbage. The best interface they had was the one from, I guess they launched in February or March of 2014. That was the best interface they had. They got rid of that before they sold to Peacock for an even worse interface or a less shitty interface, depending on how you see it. And it's bad. And then, of course, they're going to edit out all the bad shit from the Attitude Era. We know, we already know the edited out the blackface stuff with the DX and the Nation, which I didn't even think was super funny at the time. But they had that Jason Sensation guy do Owen Hart. So, what, that guy has to get, they got to burn his book of history because blackface isn't acceptable in 2021. And, I mean, dude, I never really even thought blackface was funny before it was taboo. I always thought it was kind of stupid. But for wrestling standards, it was a pretty funny skit that they did in the ring. So, it's just, that's what happens when you whore yourself out. Now, speaking of whoring yourself out, I can't say really anything about AEW has been whored out. I think they're actually doing a smart job of what they're doing. I noticed now they're dropping 6 hours of content a week, which, hey, they have if you got the roster for it, why not? And 4 plus of those hours are on YouTube. So it's like take it or leave it. It's on YouTube. but they'll feature like Moxley and Kingston on there, and a lot of no names. But they'll have Paul White, formerly known as Big Show, as the commentator on one of the shows. And dude, it's fine with me. Put up all the thing about the WWE. It seems like when they put up YouTube content, they're putting up like Royal Rumble 92, which is like, why am I paying Peacock if I could just go on your YouTube channel and watch the library basically for free on YouTube? AEW seems to be putting up original content on YouTube, which I think is really smart. I saw some of their YouTube content gets over 1 million views, which is great. I mean, that's got to be good for everybody. Good for exposure, financially. I don't know, like, you know, they're not going to be paying their roster off YouTube money, but it's good. I have no problems with that, and I like to see that kind of innovation. And truly, because what did TNA do to differentiate themselves from the WWE? They had a 6-sided ring. Who gives a fuck if you have I just thought that was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to sound like a WWE fanboy, which I was for most of my life until recent years when it just got so out of control bad. But, yeah. I like it. So, good job AEW with the YouTube content. Maybe one day we can work together. But the thing is, I'm not going to kiss your ass. I'm going to call it like I see it. I'm not like, what's that guy? Ryan, I don't even know his last name, whatever. He got fired from that backstage show and he got all bitter. And it's like, dude, chill the fuck out. You were pretty much a nobody before that. You're pretty much a nobody on it, just like me. By the way, I'm not saying I'm not a nobody. Oh, Ryan Satin. You know, it's just wrestling. We're just guys on the internet talking about it. I started doing this in 96 and I stopped because I just thought it was stupid then. But then I saw it caught some traction. So, hey, fucking here I am. But it's just a hobby. This ain't going anywhere. This is, if I could beg 3 of my friends to watch this, I've had a successful show. So Ryan Satin, power to you that at least you got fucking hired for, I guess you could call it an official, unofficial show, right? Because it was on Fox. So it wasn't technically for the WWE, but in a way it kind of was. And so, hey, good for you that you got that. And I'm sure you left on good terms, but I heard you were talking shit. Anywho, I'm not here to make enemies. I'm here to talk wrestling. So Cody had why can't I say that? Cody had an announcement last week on AEW where he's going to be wrestling as the American Dream. And I thought he cut a really good fucking promo. And it was like from the heart. I think he cried at the end because he brought up his how do you want to say this? Interraced, not to be born yet kid. And that's really cool. Good for him. And it brings realism into the match. And that's the number one thing that Brett and Austin talked about on their Broken Skull Session episode was bringing realism into the match, bringing realism into the storyline. And that's definitely what's missing from the WWE. But I can tell you, at least in AEW, it gets silly with like the arcade match, but that shit was entertaining. But for like the more serious angles, it looks like they're trying to bring in some realism into it. And I'm all for it. I really am. I'm totally all for it. And I saw SCU broke up, and a lot of people that I listened to really weren't big on SCU, but I like Scorpio Sky. I know he kind of broke off from them, I guess, a little while ago. And, Christopher Daniels been doing this forever. Frankie Kazarian, just that guy, I guess, I think him and Orton are pretty much, and Miz are pretty much all around the same age, and Kaz never really got his big break. I think he might have been a jobber or an extra a couple of times in the WWE. But that just shows, it just goes to show you, just stick it out, never give up. And the guy, made a nice career for himself where he made a living off doing what he loves, pro wrestling. Now, he never got a Randy Orton kind of contract, and he probably never had his own, not 18-wheeler, but Orton had one of those ridiculous fucking buses where he was able to pay a driver full time and just let his body recoup and everything when they were on the road a lot. And good for him for figuring out a way to do that. So to me that's a Hall of Fame career, not the fucking Bella Twins that won a beauty contest pretty much were garbage, thought they could go to Hollywood, failed in Hollywood, came back, got with like the number 1 and number 2 guys in the business, learned a couple wrestling holds, and now we're in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's such a joke. And I'm not a hater. I don't hate the player. I hate the game. All right? They look great. They really improved on their second run. I think I even said this last time. But they didn't need to be wrestlers. All they needed to be was valets and whatever else you can do besides wrestle. In my opinion. But again, good for them. Good for them. Anybody that goes into the Hall of Fame deserves it in Vince's eyes. And that's all that matters. What I think does not matter to them. So, what the fuck, right? So, hey, Bellas, you got a juice golf clap. Good for you. All right. So, next we go to, again, why do they have to call it WrestleMania Backlash? We understand the concept. It's called Backlash because WrestleMania was the prior pay-per-view. We get it. I promise you, we get it. We're not that stupid. All right? But the zombie thing. I'm not going to talk about it. It's been talked about. What I will tell you is Y2j and Batista had some tweets about it. Some guy was bitching to Batista on Twitter. And, of course, Batista, he's like, what are you tweeting at me for? He goes, I didn't book this ridiculous shit. He goes, like, tweet at Vince. Which... you know, I'm becoming not so much a fan of his in real life, but goddamn, he says some good shit at some good times, especially about the wrestling business. And I believe Y2J said, zombies. I believe this set the business back 30 years. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, allegedly some official in the WWE said that Blood and Guts match, that was, I guess, 2 weeks ago now on AEW, said that match set the business back 30 years. In the meantime, I think it was one of the best matches I've seen in 30 years. Just in terms of the realism, and it looked like these two teams hated each other. It wasn't perfect. And I'm not really great at dissecting and breaking down a match, to be honest with you. But I can tell you as a fan, I didn't want to take my eyes off of it. Sometimes as a wrestling fan, I'll have Raw or something on, and I'll be watching TikTok because I'm just so disengaged from it. And, that's my takeaway was Blood and Guts. We need more of that. We need more stuff like that. Not zombies promoting a movie. First of all, yeah, you're promoting a movie during a pay-per-view in a lumberjack match. What the fuck's going on? Vince, what are you thinking, Vince? You're killing me. You're fucking killing me. Dark Side of the Ring this week was very good. One of my favorites in the GCW, that's Game Changer Wrestling. Nick fucking Gage, out of New Jersey. I've had the privilege of seeing this guy a couple times live. And it's funny, I talked about this before on the podcast, but the first time I went, and this is like minimum of 3 years ago, so prior to COVID, way prior to COVID, and there were people all like masked up in the crowd, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, but is this a bunch of germaphobes? Like, what's going on here? And it turned out, because there was so much debris from all the shit they were fucking breaking, and I'll never forget, he did the spot where he actually had a fishing rod, and he fucking casted it out, and he hit the guy in the mouth, and it came out, it reminded me of Steve-O, because Steve-O did something like that on Jackass, and he fucking reeled the guy back into the ring, and I was just like, this is some next level shit. Yeah. Hardcore wrestling, to that extent's not really my thing, but these guys are really laying it on the line to entertain you, and I appreciate what they do. Even though it's not necessarily my thing, but goddamn, I respect them. And if you didn't watch Dark Side of the Ring with Nick Gage, go check it out. There's a really funny part where he gets set on fire, and he was like, man, I tried that stop, roll, and roll shit, and that didn't work. And the guy was still on fire, and he just couldn't figure out how to not be on fire anymore, I guess is the best way to put it. Oh, man. Anywho, if you haven't caught on by now, this is not a recap show. This is just a show where I give my insights as a 30-year fan. and just show you things that maybe you don't notice or other people hopefully haven't talked about. But I keep talking about the WWE devaluing their own product more and more and more. And if you go to Raw, my understanding is, because I didn't watch the whole thing because I can't stomach it, but apparently there were 2 more WrestleMania rematches involving Rhea Ripley and Asuka and McIntyre and Lashley. Or I could be mistaken. That could even be from last week's Raw. But I wouldn't be surprised if they were like all in the same angle all over again. So they really got to stop. It's got to stop. Just have your match at the pay-per-view, blow off the feud, and move on to the next one. It's... How many times are these guys... And I've never seen a triple threat feud have a match at a pay-per-view and sort of keep going. It just... Find other shit to do for these guys. You have 80 fucking writers. You would think they would find something, but... Who knows? And then last night we had NXT, and again, I noticed NXT now is becoming very color by numbers, very formula. Again, why can't I say this fucking word? Formumatic. It's becoming very formumatic, it's reminding me of Raw and SmackDown more and more each week with the bad acting, the bad backstage skits. The distraction roll-ups. NXT used to be the only show that really didn't do the distraction roll-up thing. I don't know when they started doing that every fucking week. But how lazy can you be with all these fucking people working in this company? I don't get it. I don't get it. And then the last thing I really noticed here on my very thorough notes, as you can see, they're not stopping with these creepy vaccine commercials. And again, just because Vince McMahon and Trips and the family and Shane and everybody else took a picture in the Oval Office with Orange Man back in 2017, doesn't mean they run their company like a conservative company. They run it, as a matter of fact, like a very progressive company. So I don't want to hear it anymore about the relationship with Vince and Orange Man and Paul and Orange Man and whoever and Orange Man and... Oh, Linda ran as a Republican for Senate. Well, she got smoked anyway because she probably sucked as a candidate. And Connecticut's a very blue state anyway, so you're just wasting your time and your money if you're trying to win in Connecticut. But these vaccine commercials are so creepy, and the sooner they stop, the better. Sort of like this week's edition of Pro Wrestling Pre Game. This week it was AEW because I felt like doing it on Wednesday, motherfuckers. And so enjoy NXT tonight. I know I will. It's my most enjoyable show of the week. I'm loving what Miro's doing on it, a.k.a. Rusev. I love to see what the Inner Circle does week to week. We had Jericho actually not on it last week to sell his injury. Oh my God, what a fucking concept. And it looks like this feud between I guess it's the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle, it looks like it's going to be an ongoing feud, maybe at Double or Nothing. It'll get blown off again. But, again, AEW is not perfect. I'm not an AEW dick sucker at all. But I just think hand over fist, much better product than the WWE. The best products to me are on the indies. The indie scene right now to me is the best product, and probably will be for a very long time. But AEW, as far as nationally televised products on cable TV, definitely number one for me. And it's going to be interesting because of sports obligations from TNT. They're going to have to go against SmackDown coming up. No choice of their own, but we'll see what happens. That'll be interesting. And again, that's network TV versus cable TV. So there's a built-in excuse already for the loser. We'll leave it at that. But Juiceheads, thank you for joining me for this week's AEW pregame, and we'll catch you next week at some point with the wacky world of pro wrestling, the good, the bad, and hopefully not the worst. Peace.